£10,000 in extras. Is it money well spent, or does it reflect on just how susceptible you are to the salesman's pitch? Well, today we're going to find out. Let's have a look and a drive of this rather spenny BMW 5 Series Touring. My name's Tom and you're watching Paragon Cars. Let's go. Now, if you're looking for a car with quite a few options, then hit up the link in the description to view this car or many others that we have for sale. Anyway, 10 grand. That's a lot of money to spend on just options for your car, isn't it? And the thing is, this 5 Series still doesn't have all of them. Yes, it may have a heads-up display, laser lights, seats from a BMW M5, a Harman Kardon sound system, a 360 camera, you get the point, but it's still missing things like adaptive cruise and adaptive dampers. This then got me wondering, how much could you actually spend on a 5 Series if you got every option? And just going through the BMW website, I found you could add a whopping 25 grand in options, bringing a 520D Touring to an eye-watering 75k. I know, just ridiculous, isn't it? Anyway, what about the 520D? This is the 520D. It's got a 2-litre diesel pushing out 190 horsepower and 400 newton-meters of torque. Whoa, right? Well, unlike the pre-facelift, it now has the MHT system, or mild hybrid system. This is an 11 horsepower electric motor mounted between the engine and gearbox to smooth out the start-stop and improve engine response. But more importantly, let's see what kind of acceleration it can add on the 30 to 70 sprint. So then, we managed a time of 7.87 seconds, which, whilst fine for daily driving, is actually a bit slower than the previous 520D Touring we filmed earlier this year. My guess is some additional options are slowing this thing down somewhat. Anyway, if you want to see a full interior tour of a facelifted 5 Series Touring, please follow the link in the top right hand corner now. But if you want to watch some driving, stay here, as it's now time to get on the road. So then, is it worth getting £10,000 worth of options in your 5 Series? Well, right off the bat, these seats are worth every single penny. They are gorgeous to sit in. Obviously, they're basically like the BMW M5 seats that you get. So, yeah, they're definitely worth it. They are so comfy. For me, the main thing is actually just being able to adjust the pitch of the upper backrest. I find that just really helps, especially on a long journey, just keeping you comfy. Anyway, suspension round town, absolutely fine. It's typical BMW. It's just sporty, but not overly sporty. Very well calibrated. Steering is nice and light, however, it is a bit devoid of feel. And that is common across every single 5 Series I've driven. Unfortunately, still including the M5 as well. But it is a lovely wafter. So yeah, if you're getting one of these, absolutely worth upgrading to these seats. The rest of the options, for me personally, I'm going with the Harman Kardon sound. That's very nice. And I would actually get the adaptive cruise control system in this, because I think it really suits it, especially on a long journey. Unfortunately, although this has a lot of options, that is one of the options it doesn't have. What it does have, though, is a very nice 360 camera system, which I can demonstrate now. So, in terms of parking, it's a 5 Series, it's Touring, so it is large, but if you've got a lot of options, like this car does, then you've got a very nice overhead camera, a wide angle reverse camera as well, which just makes getting into these slightly tighter spaces very easy. And the overhead camera is actually really good for telling you if you've parked like a BMW driver or not, which I clearly have. Anyway, getting out of this thing once you're in a space it's borderline okay. So in London you might struggle on the odd occasion. However, most of the time you're going to be able to get to the first notch on the door. There have been one or two occasions when I've been driving cars like this that you do get into a space and you think, actually, I don't want someone to ding my door. That is a bit too close. Anyway, let's let this ambulance go past. Now, obviously you've got the mild hybrid system, so there's no option to turn off start stop, which is a bit of a shame. However, because you have the mild hybrid system, it is very quick to respond. So if you give it half throttle, engine just, it's instant basically. It's like the engine is actually on, but it's just sitting at 0 revs, if you see what I mean. It just works. And even like now, it's turned the engine off, but if I just touch the throttle, there's just no delay. It's just there and ready to go all the time. So yeah, the mild hybrid system in this does just work, and it works well, I think. Anyway, let's reset our trip computer. According to BMW, on a combined cycle, this will do 62 miles per gallon, which is pretty impressive. And other cars I've driven with this drivetrain have been very impressive as well in terms of their economy figures. If you want to go and see what that car is, I'll put a link up in the top right hand corner. If not, you can keep watching this review. And I think it's time to take this thing round a roundabout and do a little handling test. Let's get to that now. Right, sports mode, traction into sports as well, gearbox into manual, jobs a good un. Obviously the traction control is off, but the stability control is still on, so it allows you to have some fun within a reason. It doesn't let you go too crazy. That's what I like about BMWs. Right, let's see what this little mild hybrid 520D is about then. Not quite enough torque to get it sideways yet. I'm sure we'll manage to do that later though. As you can see, when you put your foot down, the dash goes blue as well. Let me just see if I can demonstrate that again. So foot down, and there you go. That basically means the mild hybrid system is giving you that 11 horsepower. Yeah, not exactly a lot more horsepower, but it's a welcome addition. And it does mean the response is very good. Anyway, let's go back into eco now. Sit in some traffic. I know, not the most fun thing to do, is it? But we need to see what MPG we can get on the motorway, and actually see what this thing is like on the motorway. Oh, that's cool. Look, the graphic is even the M Sport LCI 5 Series. Little attention to detail stuff like that is really important, I think. Right, I'm waffling. Let's get on the motorway. Right, coming onto the motorway in eco, fairly smooth, even for a 4-cylinder engine. Problem is, in eco mode it does die a bit, but BMW are pretty good at calibrating that eco mode, I'd say. It still deadens the throttle response just a little bit, but it's not terrible. Audi, I find, are actually the worst at that. They basically just, it's like they take the turbo out of the engine. It's quite extraordinary how dead the throttle response goes in Audis when they're in efficiency. BMWs, they're kind of in between. Mercedes, I'd say, are the best at calibrating it, but yeah, it is what it is. It's going to save you fuel at the end of the day because it stops you from driving like a loony, and you definitely need that in a BMW. Anyway, once you're on the motorway, even though we've got very big wheels on this thing, you barely notice it. Almost zero road noise, zero wind noise, and yeah, you could do so many miles in this thing, especially when you've got these seats. I can't stop talking about them. They are that good. And yeah, suspension when you're on the motorway as well. The bigger undulations it deals with really well. The only thing I'll say is that the smaller undulations sometimes catch the suspension out, but it does have to be quite a big bump for it to actually jolt the cabin. So yeah, most of the time it's very well composed, this thing. And then steering, it's still fairly dead, but it doesn't tramline at all. You know, it's not kind of trying to find little bits in the road. It just wants to stay nice and straight, which is not actually that common for BMW, so it's nice to see that they've calibrated the steering a bit better for longer journeys. Very comfortable car. Then of course get your cruise control on. And oh, it's just lovely. So comfy. Change the seating position a bit. Oh, nice. Very nice. Anyway, let's get on to another bit of motorway now and see if we can get that 62 mpg figure. So as you can see, it didn't quite manage the 62 miles per gallon figure that BMW say it can do. However, I think given a long enough stretch of road, it would actually do it. As it's still going up, and we are sitting at near enough 55 miles per gallon in this thing, which is still pretty nuts really for a big heavy touring. You know, this has got the panoramic roof as well, which adds a lot of weight. So yeah, for longer journeys, I'd say the 20D engine is very nice. However, if you do have the money, the 30D engine is definitely the one you want. It is just a little bit smoother, and even at speed, you can tell this is a 4-cylinder diesel. It does just have that little like kind of rattly noise that those 4-cylinder diesels always have. But the response is actually very nice. So if I just slow down a little bit here, and then just give it like half throttle, it does have very nice pickup, even at higher speeds. It's a very well calibrated engine, this. I absolutely love it. But, you know, performance is lacking just a little bit, especially when you compare it to like a 30D. Anyway, is the performance still enough to have some fun with? Let's take it to a B road now and find out. Okay, back in sports mode, traction is off. Let's go for a manual gearbox, I think. And let's see what this 520D can do. Nice front end grip. Give it a bit of throttle. Yeah, not a huge amount of power to get the car sideways, but it does have a very nice balance to it. Suspension deals with the car's weight very well. I do like the response of this engine, just that from like 2,000 revs, just plant your foot, and it does pick up really nicely actually. It's that 2,000 to 4,000 RPM, it feels really, really strong. But can you feel the electric motor? I mean, you'd have to drive a car with it and one without it back to back to really notice, but it does really feel like there's not really any turbo lag, so yeah, I guess it kind of, it's a, you know, it's a gap filler kind of thing, isn't it? But yeah, handling wise, typical BMW, just very composed. I mean, I'm really struggling to find things to complain about actually. It just kind of sticks to the road, very predictable. And yeah, you can just, you know, plant your foot around corners, and it just gets the job done. However, I am lacking a little bit of power. In something like a 30D, you would be able to drive it on the throttle just a little bit more. This is kind of like, you can just plant your foot in it around a corner, and it's not really going to give you much drama. I suppose if you want drama, you can just put crappy tyres on it, but I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing that. Yeah, let's give it one more go. And yeah, don't really get much understeer. And you can go so quick in this thing. It's the same with all BMWs these days, they're just so competent. No matter which one you buy, like, I mean, you could take this to a track, for Christ's sake, and it would still do really well. Even stuff like the brakes are just amazing. They don't necessarily have the best feel, but, I mean, they work, you know, halfway through the brake pedal, this thing stops on a dime. It is crazy how fast these things stop. It's just, you can just carry so much speed around the corners. It is nuts. Right, round here again. Foot flat. And it is. It's just crazy. It just grips. It just grips. Very little body roll. Car doesn't complain. Tyres are fine. It's just nuts. You can see why police use the 530D. It's just a mega car. Absolutely mega. Even this 20D, you know, once you're up to speed, there's not a lot of times where you actually have to brake. Just lovely. It's just a shame that the steering isn't better. The previous, I think it was the F10 generation 5 Series, did have pretty substantially better steering than this. Don't know what they've done, but you know, they've made the wheel thicker, which is just kind of a big no-no in my book. And like, you know what the front wheels are doing, but it just doesn't really have any texture to it or actual feel. It's like playing Gran Turismo. But there's no denying that the handling of this thing is pretty superior to a lot of its competitors. Look at that response from the engine. It's brilliant. For a 2 litre diesel, it's just great. Like, plant your foot and you're just off straight away. Above about 2,500 revs, 0 turbo lag. Fantastic stuff. Right, how's this thing going to handle down a little B road though? Let's get to one now and find out. Okay then, B road time. Let's go. Oh yeah. I mean, you just place it where you want it. When you're going quicker, you do get tiny amounts of steering feel, but still nothing close to what I would want, really. It's unbelievably composed though, isn't it? Dive into a corner, foot flat, little bit of movement from the rear, nothing massive though. And yeah, it's so fast on a B road. Okay, can we hit 60 before the corner? Let's go. Ooh, just. Literally just. Out of the way, birdies. They never make a bad handling car, BMW, I have to say. You can drive this thing at 10 tenths all day long and it won't miss a beat. Okay, last time, let's go. ZF 8-speed gearbox in this. He's wonderful as well, of course. I'm just wanting for a little bit more power. It's hard to ignore. It's not slow, it just... Having more power just allows you to be a bit more dynamic with the car. Like, especially there, my foot's flat and you just can't get it to brake traction. I know not everyone wants to do that, but it is really nice to be able to drive the thing on the throttle. And it is a shame that you can't really do that. So yeah, in conclusion then, is it worth spending £10,000 of options on a car? Well, if you're going to keep it for a long time, I'd say yes. If you're buying it from new and you're not going to keep it for a long time, I would say absolutely not. That is a terrible idea. But if you're buying it used, like this car, it's kind of weird because it's worth more than a BMW 520D, or like the equivalent car basically, with less options, but the options themselves kind of depreciate as well. So I think once the car's depreciated a bit, it's absolutely worth every single penny. I just think if you're going to go for this, I'd go for the 530D Touring. I think that's a perfect blend of performance and economy. And absolutely go for these seats. I really wasn't expecting them to be this comfortable, but compared to the regular M Sport seats, they add that extra 5% that just makes this car sublime to travel in. Like, genuinely one of the most comfortable cars to sit in that I've experienced so far. Really, really good. And stuff like the heads-up display, yeah, that's really nice as well. I think that's absolutely worth every penny. Panoramic roof, that is an absolute must in a 5 Series Touring. Also Harman Kardon sound, I think that's a must as well. The standard system is okay, but the Harman Kardon system is really good. You just get much better bass, and just the clarity of the sound is quite a bit better as well, I'd say. So I think, yeah, spending a lot on options is worth it, I think, if you're buying a used car. Which brings me to the end of this video. If you like this content, please give it a like, and why not subscribe, as not only can you see more content like this, you can see everything we have for sale, which of course includes this absolutely stunning motor. It is lovely, this thing. Really, really nice car to spend a lot of time in. And if you want to see it, a link will be down in the description below. Obviously, if the car's sold, that link will no longer be there, but there will be another link just to our website where you can see everything else we have for sale. Anyway, my name's Tom, and you've been watching Paragon Cars. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.